like her. Please put your hands together for the very funny Linda Kowalsky.
Greetings, honest men and bonny lassies. My name is Linda Marie Moka Kowalsky, and I was born in Motherwell, Scotland. I met my husband 33 years ago at a party on Glasgow Street. Some men would say, come home and see my etchings. Nay, him. It was, come home and hear my bagpipes. Aye, married maid in heaven. I have a few queries for you this evening. There are two things a Scotswoman likes naked, and one of them is malt whiskey. I spoke to the Scottish doorman at the Hard Rock Cafe in London, and he said, and for what reason have you come to London? I said, for what reason? What other reason than to marry my daughter? So he took one look at her, one look at his watch, and said, I'll be off at 4 o'clock. My father turned 90 at the end of March. He survived D-Day, Juno Beach, 2 heart attacks 25 years ago, a stroke after which he could no longer play golf. Now he's a pacemaker. Aye, if my mother's cooking couldn't kill him, nothing will. I have some good news and some bad news for you this evening. The bad news is I've signed up for a summer school. I'm going for professional development. The good news is it's whiskey school. In BC politics, Christy Clark morphs from Premier Mom to Iron Snowbird, more like plastic Dodelberg, soon to be extinct. 1/3 of Canadian workers say their workplace is unsafe, unfit, unhealthy. What are the other 2/3? At home sick. In celebrity news, Arnold Schwarzenegger is no longer governor of California. He's returning to movies. Aye, he still looks like a condom stuffed with walnuts with a chest bigger than Madonna's. Talk about clean living. I once shook hands with Mother Teresa, and my whole right side sobered up. A life stage for me was joining the Cordova Bay Ladies Golf Club. Their first question was, do you have a handicap? I said, aye, I have a lisp. I soon learned there were 3 kinds of lady golfers. The first kind is the cheater. She doesn't kick the ball, but bowls brass. She picks it up behind the bush, unseen, and throws it onto the green. When the rest of the party catches up, she looks at them and brags about it and says, now that is how it's done. The second kind of lady golfer is the teacher. She's a know-it-all. You cannot do this, you cannot do that. Remember, lady, she says, there's no swearing, there's no trash talking, there's no titanic tantrums. She doesn't let you see the book of rules. She recites it like preschool. The third kind of lady golfer is a douchebag. She never stops smoking and talking yakety yakety yak yak all day long. When she hits the ball, it goes 50 yards and a tennis bracelet goes 80. Remember, ladies, there are men douchebags too. They're the ones that risk getting Lyme's disease on their private golf member by having a pee in the bush instead of using the perfectly good restrooms. Mostly I like to go for the woman's longest drive, much like the men's longest woody. It only takes 1 ball to make a hole-in-one, but I prefer to play with 2 balls. Does a good 4 come from foreplay? As they're both a prelude to balls being awfully close to someone. I golf with some strange body positions, cutting with bun out. What position might that be? The Parsons position? How do you walk away from a bad putt? Like a cat, burying it in the litter box of life. My 3-iron. I call it my mother-in-law iron because I want to hit it, but I can't. Amazing but true golf facts. This lady pro golfer, Jan Stevenson, she won $4,000 for a hole-in-one in Japan. A few minutes later, she made this trans-Pacific telephone call that took 1 hour and 45 minutes and cost $3,200. She said, that was a poor decision on my part. Later, she made another poor decision. She married the bloke, and the marriage lasted a wee bit longer than the phone call. When Tiger Woods was leaving his putts achingly short from the cup, people were saying, could you explain this? He was ringing them, you wouldn't hear the click in the cup. He said, I'm suffering from leprosy. My final thoughts. The other day I broke 70. That was a lot of clubs. Why is golf better than sex? You can stop halfway through for a hot dog. When your pots are all worn out and finished your equipment, you can throw it out and buy some new. No one will ever say you'll go blind playing alone. Golf and comedy are like group therapy. Everybody wants to get off.